The point of the entire Old Testament law, and really the point of what Jesus spent most of his time telling the Pharisees, was we as sinful human beings can never do that. We literally can't do it. So one of the things that we've been talking about a lot lately on both the channel here and on the podcast, and even the conversations that Chris and I've been having, the conversations I've been having with my wife, my pastoral coach, have really all been centered around identity, who I am, and what I'm going to do with that for this coming year. And so I was reading in Isaiah this morning. I came across a passage that hit me in a different way than it has before. I want to read the passage and then kind of talk you through what I feel like the Holy Spirit was working in me at this moment. In Isaiah 33, verse 13, it reads, "Hear or listen, you who are far off, what I have done, and you who are near, acknowledge my might. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Trembling has seized the godless." This is what the godless say. "Who among us can dwell with the consuming fire? Who among us can dwell with the everlasting burnings?" And here's the answer. "He who walks righteously and speaks uprightly, who despises the gain of oppressions, who shakes his hands lest they hold a bribe, who stops his ears from hearing of bloodshed and shuts his eyes from looking on evil, he will dwell on the heights. His place of defense will be the fortresses of rocks. His bread will be given him. His water will be sure." Very next line. Starts a new paragraph, but very next line. "Your eyes will behold the King in his beauty. They will see a land that stretches afar." In trying to grasp my identity as a child of God, one of the things that I've always struggled with, and it's still a struggle, and it's one thing that I'm kind of focusing on this year, is the idea that I have to measure up to some standard, some level of performance before God will accept me and love me. And so my identity then is very much based on what I do, the things that I achieve. I have to reach a certain place before my identity can be realized. We talk about this a lot. Here's what I've realized, though, in this passage this morning. We look so many times throughout the Old Testament at these passages where it talks about the only one who is able to do this is the one who is walking righteously, speaking uprightly, despises the gain of oppressions, doesn't take bribes, doesn't look with delight on bloodshed, doesn't look on evil. All of these things that we look at and we're like, oh yeah, well those are great things. I should do those things, and then I will be able to, like David says in the Psalms, ascend and go up to God's place, God's dwelling place. And let's think about this for just a minute. And this is the thing that hit me this morning. The point of the entire Old Testament law, and really the point of what Jesus spent most of his time telling the Pharisees, was we as sinful human beings can never do that. We literally can't do it. There is no way that we can be the kind of person on our own who walks righteously, speaks uprightly, despises gain from oppression, all these things. We'll never have clean hands on our own. But who is this talking about? The very last line that I read, "Your eyes will behold the King in his beauty." This is not talking about the person living among the people of Israel in Zion who are going to somehow get things right and be able to live in the midst of the God who is causing sinners and godless people to tremble. This is about the King who is coming, who is able to do these things, the one who despises the gain of oppressions. This is the King, the one who dwells on the heights, whose defense is the fortresses of rocks, the one whose bread will be given him, whose water is sure. This is the King. We spend so much time getting wrapped up in this idea that we have to perform. And so many times throughout the Old Testament, I'm coming to find God is calling us to simply accept that He is the one who accomplishes all of these things for us. And so when we're talking about identity, Henry Nouwen talks about our identity being, we look for our identity in usually three different places. We look for it in what we achieve, we look for it in what we possess, we look for it in what others say about us. And all along, God's saying it's not in what you do, it's not in what you have, and it's not in what other people think about you. It's in what I have done for you. It's in who I am as your creator, your father, your provider, the one who started you and called you into existence, and the one who wants to spend all of eternity with you. I am the one who does all of these things. I am sufficient for everything that you could ever need, everything that you could ever want, and you are my child. He calls us to accept that. And so for me, 2021, looking forward to conversations that I've had, I'm coming to realize that 2021 for me really needs to be a year of resting in that identity. Really trying to be intentional about not finding my identity or not trying to look for my identity in what I do, what I possess, or what others say about me. And that's going to be really, really hard. And to be quite honest, we're here 4 weeks in now into 2021, and I could already probably count on 2 hands, maybe 3 hands, how many times I've not done that. But it's not about my success in resting even. It's about learning to call myself back to my identity as God's child and not having to worry about whether I'm performing well or achieving the right things or making sure that people think the right things about me. It's about resting my identity as His child, knowing that He is the King who has taken care of everything for me. He's the one who can walk righteously, speak uprightly, does all of these things perfectly because that's just who He is. And I can rest in that. I can accept my identity as His child, knowing that He is the all-sufficient caretaker of my soul. So I'd like to challenge you to take this journey with me and pay attention to where in life you're trying to find your identity. Are you trying to base your identity on what you do? Are you trying to base your identity on what you possess, the things that you have, your car, your house, your TV, whatever? Are you trying to base it on what others think about you? Do they think that you're the kind of person who's successful? Are they looking at you as a person who is wise? Are they looking at you as a person who always has the right answers, always does the right things, says the right things? Are you basing your identity on their perspective of you? When you realize that you've started to base your identity on those other things, one good practice is to ask yourself, what would it feel like if I lost this thing? So if you notice that maybe you're paying really close attention to some of the things that other people are saying about you, you really want to try to get their approval. How would you feel if you lost that approval? How would you feel if you lost the nice car that you have? How would you feel if you lost the nice house that you have? How would you feel if you lost your success? And if that's a real source of pain and you're really scared and worried about it, it might be that you're basing your identity on those things rather than on who God is and who God says that you are. And that's a really, really challenging thing to think through and talk about. If you're really want to be open and honest, we'd love to get your feedback in the comments below and let us know how you're working through this along with us. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope you will join me on this journey of resting in our identity as children of God in 2021.